Hello everyone and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use epoxy clay to make some ornaments. I have 3 different kinds of ornaments to make. We're going to start out with making some natural ornaments using natural things that you may have in your yard, in your forest, or wherever it is you live. And then we're going to move on to making some crystal ornaments with glass and crystals. So these are a lot of fun. You probably have a ton of beads that you need to use up. And then we're going to move on to making some more metallic steampunk kind of ornaments. Now these ornaments you can hang on your Christmas tree, you can give them as gifts, you can wear them as pendants, depending on which ones you're going to work on. Now the natural ones are going to be a little bit more delicate, so you're probably not going to want to wear them around your neck, but you can hang them on the wall, you can hang them on a tree. I kind of wanted to come up with this video for you all because I know times are really strange right now with COVID going on, and it's November, we're getting into Thanksgiving and soon Christmas and gifts, and I know a lot of money is tight for a lot of people right now. And so these are gifts, these are things you can make and give away that really are inexpensive. The only thing you're going to have to spend money on is the clay, epoxy clay, and it's really not that expensive, and some findings here and there, some settings that you might have to buy. But I also talk a little bit about how you can come up with things that you may already have in your house that you can use, recycled things like jar lids and stuff like that you can use for your settings. And of course, if it's a natural thing, you can go out in the woods or wherever it is you live and collect seeds and pods. So there's a lot of mindfulness behind this whole ornament thing. And then of course the beaded ones, you know, we all have a big bead stash, and or you can go ahead and purchase them. But I just wanted to connect with you all and give you this really fun free video. It's an hour long, and I hope you really enjoy it and you get something out of it. If you have any questions about anything, please don't hesitate to email me or get in contact with me. Okay? Blessings to you. So hello and welcome to my free online video on ornaments, and we're going to play with epoxy clay to make our ornaments today. There's a lot of different kinds of epoxy clay out there. I prefer the crystal clay. You can get it at crystalclayonline.com. What I like about the crystal clay, it comes in a lot of different colors, and it also comes in this nifty little thing, packet. This is 25 grams, and it comes with the clay, obviously. It comes with a little toothpick, and this little toothpick has beeswax on the very end of it, so it really helps to pick up things. It comes in handy for a lot of things. It comes with gloves, which you can wear when mixing. The clay is really kind of messy to mix it up at first. And if you don't like to get your hands dirty or you're kind of allergic to things, I recommend using the gloves. I myself don't use the gloves. I just mix the clay and then go wash my hands. And also baby wipes work really well to clean your hands off. So, but it's kind of nice to have these in case you want to use them. So this is how your clay comes. It comes in A and B. There's 2 sides, 2 equal amounts of the clay. Now you don't have to use all the clay up for a setting. So for this setting, this is a 35 millimeter setting, I'm using equal parts of A and B, a large grape size. It's always better to have a little bit extra clay to play with, but you know, so you don't have to mix more. If you have extra clay, you can always make a quick pair of earrings or something like that. So if you aren't using the whole amount here, which you probably won't, make sure you wrap it back up and keep it sealed in your plastic bag so that it stays fresh for you, okay? You want it to stay fresh. But basically, you're going to take these 2 equal amounts. It's important that you have equal amounts, and I have dog hair on there. Everything sticks to this stuff. So you drop it on the floor and you have pets, you're going to have dog hair in it. So be really careful about that. So what I like to do is just roll it, kind of like a snake, kind of like you did in the days when we used to play with Play-Doh, right? So we're just rolling it, folding it over, and rolling it. And we're trying to get it one color. Now this clay comes in a lot of different colors. I like black just because it makes my pieces a little bit more elegant and stuff. But keep in mind too, if you're using a stone or a crystal that's transparent and you stick it in the black clay, it's going to take away from the brightness. So, you know, obviously there's different ways you can do that. You can either put foil around the crystal or paint it so that when it hits, you don't see the black behind it, or you could use a different color too. You don't have to use black. This is just the color I prefer to use. So now I don't see any white in this anymore, so I know that it's completely ready to go. Now before I press it in there, I'm going to go wash my hands real quick. So soap and water works really good, and also a baby wipe helps to get off any extra clay. You want to make sure that your hands, after you mix it, are pretty much not sticky anymore. And one of the reasons is because now we're going to start to press this into our setting. And there's all kinds of different settings you can get. I know if you go to crystalclay.com, they sell settings there. You could get settings on Etsy, just put in metal settings. You know, if you don't have a lot of money, you can use jar lids. You can use little soda can lids. So there's all kinds of plastic things that you can use. All you're looking for is something that has like a little depth to it that you can spread the clay out in. Now these are nice because they have also a little pendant or a bail on the top. So if you're making an ornament, you'll have something to hang it from. If you're making a necklace, you have something to hang it on. You can also get settings that have earring components on them, so you can make earrings. So there's a lot of different settings that you can get that are ready to go. Now, a lot of times what I'll do if I'm going to do bead embroidery is I'll cut this bail off, and then I can use it in my bead embroidery so I can bead around it. But today we're talking about ornaments, so you want to have that little bail. Now, I just use my thumb and I spread it out, and I kind of have a little dome to it. I don't know if you can see the little dome, but it has a little bit of a dome to it. Now, you don't have to have a dome. Sometimes if you have too much of a dome, when you start to press all this stuff into it, then it kind of pillows out. So too much isn't always good. You can also have it flat across the top. It's up to you. So this is basically what we're going to be using for the entire rest of this course, is you want to have your clay mixed equally together. And then what I do is I just have a little piece of cardboard here. And what I like to do is just take some tape, fold it over, and just stick it to the cardboard. And the reason I like to do that is because when I start sticking components in here, it's easier to turn the cardboard. Because once you start getting these components in, you don't really want to touch and move them around. Okay? So you have 2 hours to play with this clay before it turns into concrete. It gets really hard. And don't get stressed out about it. Enjoy the process. I think that a lot of my students overthink it. And don't overthink it. Have fun with it. You can, if you put something in and it doesn't look like right, you can pull it back out. You can use your toothpick to kind of roll it over and make it smooth again. And so there's all kinds of things that you can do with this clay to have fun with it. Some of the things that you can use in the clay also, and this is Pearl X. You can also get this online. You can either Google Pearl X, or you can get it actually from the Crystal Clay online website. And it's like this powder, okay? And you can just use a paintbrush and paint it onto the clay. So if you see some clay that you don't, after you've gotten all your components in and you don't like the look of it, you can take the Pearl X, it comes in a ton of colors, and just put it on. The only way it's going to stick is if the clay is sticky. So if you get it on some of your metal components and stuff, don't worry about it. It's not sticky, so you can wipe it right off, okay? The other really fun thing to play with is micro beads. And again, this is a Martha Stewart line of micro beads. You can get them at most craft stores. Again, Google micro beads. They come in all kinds of different colors, and these work really well. You can wet them with your finger and just put them where you want. So these are some fun things you can do with the clay. So that's it, basically it in the getting and preparing your clay. And now we're going to move on to our first ornament. So here we have the ingredients for the natural ornament, and this is just the ingredients that I have in my neck of the woods up on the mountain. It's November right now, so we've already had 2 snows, so a lot of things is covered, and I just had to find what I could. And a lot of it I found in my kitchen. You know, but if you live along the ocean or by water, you can certainly use shells, seaweed, sea glass, so it depends on where you're located. And there in the center are little berries from the juniper bushes. So those are juniper berries. And you can see some darker ones in there. Those are ones that have dried. So a lot of this stuff is going to dry as you work with it. Over here I have some poppy seed stems, and they're kind of hollow on the inside. Then I have some little pine cone petals, some moss. Here in the middle I have some poppy heads that I cut off, and some other pods. I have no idea what they are, but they're kind of cool. And then here is some rose hips. This is anise seed. I love the way they look, and also the seed itself. So I'm going to play with that. These over here are just aspen buds that I trimmed off the tree. And below here are just some other bushes that I trimmed. And then here in the corner are roots from trees that have blown down from in my forest. So those make really cool things to play with. You know, as you're looking at this, the natural stuff is all very fragile. And so I'm going to spray it with some sealant after I'm done. And, you know, this is just what I found yesterday. I've been thinking about this for a while, so I always look at everything and wonder how I can use it. And certainly you can incorporate beads and other components into it, but this is my natural tray, and so I just wanted to show you that, and let's get started on the natural ornament. So this is one of the first natural ones I did. This is the anise seed, and then there's popcorn actually, and these are sunflower seeds. These are some little pieces of lapis that I had, raw lapis. So, I mean, you can use a number of things in your piece. These are little tiny tube beads, and these are the little aspen sprouts. So yeah, I mean, it turned out good. Now though, I'm going to show you how to do one. So this is let me see if I can find a ruler here. Where is the ruler when you need it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so this is it's about a 35 millimeter setting, and it's kind of deep. The one I did with the other one isn't as deep. And so it took about 2 large grape size of the epoxy clay A and B to fill this, and then I flattened it out. And then what I like to do, and I think I mentioned this in the very beginning, is to just take some tape and kind of tape it to a piece of cardboard, because I find that it's easier for me to turn the piece of cardboard around than to try and turn the piece around, because what happens if you try to turn the piece around when you start putting things in there, then it moves the pieces. So I did a little prep work. Now these are the rose hips that I have a whole bunch of. And what I did here is I filled them with a little, where are they? With a little juniper berry. And so these are some little pins that I have. They're a little bit smaller than the normal pin. This is like a normal, pin. These are a little bit smaller, and I've had them forever. But what I did is I speared a juniper berry, and then what I found, it's so cool. Nature is just so cool, and I'm going to see if I can show you on one of these. But what I found is if I take one of these little rose hips and I carefully try to just cut into it. Now that came off easy, but they open up, and this is what's so beautiful about nature. Look at this. It's got this little fuzz in here, this little fuzz, right? And then it's surrounded with seeds. So this is how the rose hip protects its seeds. Isn't it beautiful? I just think that's so fabulous. And I just wonder how many other, you know, pods and flowers do the same thing. So now this is the padding around it, and these are the seeds. How beautiful is that? Now I can plant these seeds, but what I'm gonna do right now is just dump them out. But what I found is it leaves this really cool little open like shell that you can put something in. So what I did is I just punched a hole in the back with a bigger needle. Kind of just punched it right in there so it's going through, right? So you have a hole coming out the back. And then if you're lucky, this was a little tricky, you can stick your juniper berry with the needle, the little tiny pin in there. And it takes a while to find that hole, but there you go. And then what's cool about this is now you have this little point that you can stick into the clay as well. So I'm gonna put these in the center, okay? So normally when I start a piece, I usually start it around the outside. And what I'm gonna do this time is I'm gonna use some, these are pine cone, I don't know, I guess they were petals, pine cone petals. And I found that when I'm taking the pine cone petals out, it really helps to, the easier ones to take out are on the bottom of the pine cone, and then they get a little trickier as they get larger. And what I'm trying to do here, and what I did with this other piece, is I'm trying to find petals that are kind of consistent in size. Okay, so that they aren't all wonky. So that's what I'm trying to do here. And usually it's about 8 petals, but sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less. So I'm just trying to pick out the petals that are going to be the most consistent in size. So then what I do is I start on the top, and I could do it this way too if I wanted the petal to go that direction. I was thinking I would make it go in this direction. And now I'm wondering, should I make it go in that direction again? I kind of liked this design, but at the same time, I'm thinking maybe if I made the petal go out. So I think I'll just go out. And then what you do is you go to the opposite side. Oh, that one's a little flimsy, so you know what? I'm not going to use that one. And you just kind of stick them in. This one's a little flimsy too, but I think it'll be okay. And then you go on the other side, the other corner. So you're just starting in the 4 corners. Some of these are not in the greatest shape. And you know what? This is really sharp, and I'm finding that I should probably trim those because I can feel them when I'm trying to push them in. And then you fill in between. So let's see, here's another big one. Trying to find some good ones here. And you know, this is nature. So, whoop, that one doesn't want to work. See, nature's telling you, no, I don't want to cooperate. I don't want to work with you. So you just go to another one. See if I can find another. Some of these are broken. This one might work. You know, nature is not perfect, just like ourselves. We are not perfect, so we can't expect it all to be perfect. So I'm just, hair stuck on me. Okay, so I'm just gonna put these in. So now we have the base. Okay, now I'm just winging this here because that's how I do things. I kind of wing them. I don't really know what's gonna work or what's not gonna work, so just kind of showing you how I do this. And the other thing I wanted to point out is, see, this is where the bail is. I did put that over the bail so you won't even see it, okay? Now I think what I might do is use some of these little seeds. These are the little anise seeds, and they're such a pretty color. So let's see if I can't show you how I place these. Now if you have beads, you can certainly use beads, but since this is the natural ornament, I'm going to try and show you how I use natural seeds. Now I have my little toothpick here with the beeswax on the top, and I kind of just warm it up a little bit in between my fingers. And then what I'm going to do is I kind of, so you can kind of pick it up with that, and then I'm going to just stick that right in between. Okay, so you got to figure out which side of the little seed you want sticking into the clay, and then I'm just pushing that right in there. So it kind of really helps to have these little tools. That's one of the reasons I like the crystal clay, is because it comes with all these little tools. Oop. And sometimes I have found that the wax sometimes does have a tendency to stick, and you can't really clean the wax off until your piece is completely dry, and then you can go in and go ahead and pick those off, clean the little seeds and the little beads off of the wax if any got in there. So you're just kind of pushing those in between, and then I'm reforming the, whoop, that one got away from me, didn't want to come join the party. So I'm just sticking these in the clay. And you can give it a little twist if it doesn't want to release the seed. Now this seed's a little darker and different, and that's okay. I'm going to use it anyway, because it's still beautiful. Let's see, I got a couple more to go. So you can fill this in with anything, any kind of seed. You could use, you know, sunflower seeds. You can use whatever you have. Okay. So now I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these little pods. This is going to be my center. And I found one thing that I noticed when I was trying to push these in. And where is my pliers when I need them? Of course, I don't know. All right, I'll just use some other pliers. Is that it really helped to pull the needle out this way, so I'm not damaging any part of the pod, just to pull it this way. So what's going to happen here is this needle, or not needle, this pin is actually going to help adhere this pod into the clay. Okay, so I'm just pushing those down and out so that they will stay. Now the other thing you can do too is you can do the same thing as you're doing with these little pins, is to use head pins. I felt that these would be harder to push into these little natural things, but you know, if you have like some natural beads or any kind of bead that has a hole in it, you can take these head pins and push them through. Normally you can. That one doesn't seem to want to work. Nothing wants to work when I'm trying to show you something, but you can push those through and then push these into the clay. Now you might need to trim these because you don't want them really long or they're going to stay up, but this is a way that you can anchor beads and things into your clay. All right, so I am going to just take one of these and I'm going to stick it right in there like so. Like I said, I am winging this. I have no idea what this is going to look like. But hopefully it'll look pretty cool. I kind of like that, right? That's kind of sweet, actually. I wonder if I should try and cram one more in there or not. This is where you think, what else can I stick in there? And I have, actually, I don't know if these will look good or not, but I might try it just to see. I have these cool little poppy, the top of a poppy pod. Oh, and see, it broke all up, but I might just stick that in there just because it looks cool. And maybe put one over here too. A lot of this stuff is fragile, so you have to be careful with it, you know, because it can break very easily. Ooh, I kind of like that. Okay. And as I'm going back and pushing things in. And sometimes you need to go back and push all of these little guys back into place because they get moved around. And you'll do that before you let the piece dry. Now, this is a sandwich stick that's, you can see I've used quite often, but whenever we used to go out for dinner, we don't do that very much anymore. But whenever I get a sandwich and there's a sandwich stick, I would always save them because these come in really handy for pressing and pushing and prodding and all that kind of stuff. So now what are we going to do to fill in that space? That's a good question as I'm looking around, because what I think I'm going to do, and maybe I'll do that now, is I want to use some of these roots. I love working with roots because they're just, look at them, they're so cool. Look at this. I mean, it's really cool. Yeah, it's very fragile. No doubt it's fragile. But you can kind of just, I'm going to stick them out here. And they're just so beautiful. They've been under the earth, holding up trees for so long. And this one I'm going to put on the top, I think, of that. Actually, you know what? I think maybe I'm going to put them in front. Yeah, I like that. You know, these are not something you're going to stick around your neck. That's probably something that you would do more with the ones that we're going to make with the beads and stuff like that. These are little ornaments that you can hang on the wall, hang on a Christmas tree, or wherever you want to put them. But they're really fragile, so it's not something that, you know, you're going to be wearing around your neck. They're going to be poking you and all that kind of stuff if you tried to wear it around your neck. But these are ornaments that are just, I don't know what they're for. They're just cool. And people love them. They're a little part of nature. And everybody wants and needs a little bit of nature in their world. So it's kind of funky and different and cool, right? Now I have a lot of space in there and I'm wondering what I can do. The last time I used some beads, but you know what? I'm going to just use some of these really cool aspen pods. And these were on the aspen tree. They're all getting ready to just bloom next year. They ain't ready now. And so I'm just going to stick these little guys in wherever I can, wherever room. They're just so cool looking. And you know, this stuff is going to dry. I just like the way they look. They almost look like little hooves, little deer hooves or something. So I'm just kind of sticking these wherever there's a space. And that's one of the reasons I really like to use the black clay. I know this clay comes in all kinds of different colors and stuff, but I find that the black is, I don't know, it just gives it more of an elegant look. And plus then it kind of just camouflages. I mean, there's nothing, you don't see the black, you don't see the background. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do here, is kind of just hide the background. So let's see, let me get another one here. I mean, certainly you could use a white. I use one that's called Mocha, and it's kind of like a coffee cream color, and that one works really good. But again, I find that you notice more of the clay that way, whereas the black just kind of just fades in and you don't see it. I'm gonna stick one down there. So certainly play with other colors if you want. I personally like the black the best. And I'm almost thinking, well, maybe I'll put a couple more in, but sometimes if you overdo it, you overdo it. And I don't really want to overdo it because I think it's kind of cool just the way it is. See if I can put another one in there just because there's a little bit of a space. And then what you want to do, once you have everything where you think you want it, is just go back around and kind of push everything back in so that it's anchored. And you know, this clay takes 2 hours to dry, and once it does, the clay is going to be like concrete. The fragile thing here is going to be these little sticks coming out and all these little natural things that could very easily break off. So I would look at these more natural ornaments as not really permanent. I mean, sure, they're permanent if you take care of them. And yeah, they're permanent if you stick it on a wall or, you know, something like that, just a cool little thing. And then they're going to last a lot longer. But being how fragile all of this stuff is, it's probably not going to last you forever. Or whoever you gift it to, because these are kind of cool little gifts you can give people. You know, they can hang them on their trees or whatever. So yeah, this is cool. So here we have 2 of the natural ornaments. They're different. I'll give you that. They're off the wall and different, but they're really kind of cool too, and they're fun to make, and it really doesn't cost much. All right, so thank you for watching this one. Next, we're going to move on to, I think, the beads and the crystals. So here we have our ingredients for our next project, which is going to be making an ornament using beads and crystals, dagger beads. So as you can see, here's a nice collection of dagger beads. They work really well, especially if you're trying to make something that's going to look like a snowflake. Dagger beads work wonderful for that. And then over here we have a little collection of crystals. I'm not much of a crystal girl, but they do add a lot of flair and shininess and beautiness to your projects. And then we move over to head pins. Head pins come in handy for trying to attach beads. You can stick them into the clay. Then we have our Rizo beads and our Super Duo. These make really great additions to any kind of a snowflake that you're trying to achieve. And then I have a little tray of just some center beads. You can use flowers, metal, any kind of a thing that you can stick in the center of your snowflake or flower, whatever you want to call it.
And then I have an assortment, like these are these are 4mm checks, and these are the little 3mm checks, and they work really great also for stringing on your little head pins that you can use. And again, then you can use any assortment of beads. These are size 11s, and I also like to use size 15s. These are things that you can string onto your head pins, and they make really fabulous little stamens and stuff for your project. So you don't have to use any of these things. You can just look through your stash and find just extra beads that you have lying around and use just about anything you want in the bead world. So let's get started on our next project, which is going to be making a crystal beaded snowflake. So before we start on the glass and crystal pendant instructions tutorial, I wanted to show you the first one I did. I always like to play with one just by myself just to refresh, and I really love the way this turned out. Isn't it beautiful? So I have these dagger beads and crystal beads in there, and I put a little metal center in there with a little blue zircon stone, and I'm just really happy with it. It's again a pendant, and I just wanted to show it to you before we start making this beautiful piece, which is what we're going to do next. Okay, so for this one we're going to make a large crystal and beaded sun catcher, snowflake, necklace, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to do with it. I mean, that's what's cool about these things. You can pretty much do anything you want with them. In this setting, we're looking at about a 35mm setting again. And I'm going to start with these larger crystals. And again, what I'm doing is I'm putting them near the bail and then turning it around and going in the opposite direction. So this way it's kind of easy. They're even. I mean, you can certainly do not even. You could certainly do not even. And I could probably try to cram 2 of these in here, but I think I'm going to feel a little bit better if I don't. Sometimes less is better. You don't want too much crowding going on. So we got the first one in, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take these smaller ones and go in between. I hope you can see what I'm doing. I'm just taking these with my fingers. You can of course use the little toothpick with the beeswax on it if that makes you feel more comfortable. And these are going to go in between. Just like so. You know, again, the clay is black, so that's going to make these crystals a little bit darker. If you were to use something, a lighter color of the epoxy clay, then you're going to probably get a lighter version of what I'm doing here. But I don't have a lighter color at hand, so I'm going to go with this. Now I'm seeing little spaces here in the back, and that kind of is bugging me a little bit. So I'm going to see if I cannot get a dagger bead that will fit behind that. I mean, since these are kind of like snowflake ornament crystal things, why not make them what they are? And this is kind of like design as you go for me. I mean, certainly you can see what I'm doing here, and you're welcome to copy what I've done, but it's also kind of just figuring it out as you go and what's going to work in these little areas. So this is a really pretty light blue-green dagger, and it looks like it's going to fit behind there just fine. So now, that's kind of cool actually, I like that. I'm going to go around, kind of just resync them all. It's always good to kind of go back and just push things back in the clay, because sometimes when you add something else to the clay, it kind of pushes the other thing out, and we want these all to be set nice and happy. Okay. So now, where do we go from here? That's a good question. I think I want to use some of these. And for this, I am going to use my little thingy here. And I think I'm going to put them right in between. Each one of these little, yeah, I like that. I like that color. That, what is that, blue zircon or something like that. And sometimes you have to fiddle with a little toothpick thing. See, sometimes it pulls the crystal out, and you might find that when you're setting something in there, it pulls it out. And I kind of just twist the toothpick a little bit. And I think I mentioned somewhere along the line that sometimes it'll leave a little bit of the beeswax on the crystal or the bead that you're setting in there. And what I would do is I would just leave it alone, and then once the piece dries, then you can go back in and clean up any debris or anything. Because if you try to clean it up now while the clay is wet, and it's not going to work. The bead's going to move around, or the crystal's going to move around, and it's just not going to be fun or easy. So I would recommend you wait until it's all dry, and then you can go back in and fiddle with that. So okay, looks like we got one more here. And I can see some of them are a little bit to the side, so I'm just going to try and make them look a little bit nicer. I got a lot of space in the center here. So, okay, so I ended up, what I'm going to do is put this blue flower in the center, and then I'm going to add these really earthy, not glittery at all, little dagger beads. They're not daggers, they're just these drops that I have, and I'm going to put those around the center to really kind of build it up a little bit, sticking them right in to the clay. Really beef up that center so it really wants to pop. Okay, so game changer. I took the long spikes out around the edge because I just felt they were too long, and I put in these little tiny crystals, these purple crystals instead. I just think it's more balanced that way. And now what I did is I found these really cool dagger beads that are this really pretty light blue color. And you know, I think it's good for you all to see that I do struggle. There are times, you know, it's not like everything comes easy. And if you don't like the way something looks, then you can certainly change it. And with this clay, you have 2 hours before it dries up and turns into concrete, and then you won't be able to change it. So it's good to play with different things. You can pull, if you have a crystal that you don't like, and you need to pull it back out of the clay, just pull it back out, and you can clean it up real easily with, you know, a baby wipe or something like that. So it's not like everything is, you know, concrete. It has to stay that way, okay? So I think I'm gonna put some little, and I might just go ahead and not even really put, well, you know what? See, I'm still struggling. I'm still playing with this. And so, good thing you didn't pay for this video, because I'm just kind of moving along here and discovering as I go what I'm thinking is going to work. And I think, yeah, I'm going to put these long. Now see, it's too long. So if that's the case, then you just pull it back out and you trim it. And I got to see how many beads. I got 7 beads on there. And these are just gonna really finish, give it a little bit more texture. And then we'll try to figure out what I'm gonna put in the center, what color. And sometimes it helps when you're putting these stamens, these little stems in, to hold your piece up to the side so that you can actually see where you're pushing it in, and then all the beads don't fall off. So that's kind of a nice little trick. And I really like adding the little wired bead things. They just add a little bit of texture to them, to the piece. It almost makes it look like a flower more so than a snowflake, but it's kind of like a little sun catcher, I guess. So not everything has to be a snowflake. I mean, you could still use it as an ornament if you wanted to. And the other thing you can do with these too is you can wear them as pendants, as necklaces. You know, granted, there's a lot of crystal on there, and it's got a little bit of weight to it. You don't want it to be banging around on stuff, but you could certainly wear it as a pendant. And if you wanted, you can also cut the bail off. If you don't want to use this piece, say, as a pendant or something you're going to hang, if you cut the bail off before you put all the beads in there, you can actually use this as a centerpiece to do beadwork around. So it's not like you have to use it for something that's going to hang. You can glue it on the top of a jar or a lid or something and make a box out of it. There's a lot of things you can do with these other than them having to hang. So keep that in mind when you're working on them. I think I have one more here to go. There. I think that looks really good. It is very dark. It's dark because of the black clay, but I think it's also beautiful. And I think if you hang it up in the light, you're going to really see the fuchsia colored and the other colors coming through. So now what I really need to focus on and try to figure out is what color I want to put in the center of this. I think that that's too boring. I want something that's going to be super bright, and so let me go search for that. Okay, so it didn't take me too long. I have these little shell flower that I'm going to put right in the center, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this little head pin here, and I don't know how far or how much I need to trim, but I'm just going to stick it right. Oh, look at that, perfect. So that head pin's going to hold that little white flower in the center of it. So here we have this beautiful, whatever it's going to be, or whoever wants it, or you could wear it as a pendant, you can not wear it as a pendant, you can hang it in the window. And I'm just kind of, again, going around and making sure everything's happy here, because we don't want it. Where's my, looking for my little sandwich stick, because that works really good to kind of push things in. I guess I'll have to use my fingers. And this is a good time to go around and just make sure everything's happy, because once that clay hardens, you not going to be able to move anything. And believe it or not, these things will stick in the clay. In fact, if I were to drop this, the crystals are going to break, not the clay. So again, here we are with this beautiful crystal piece. All right, next we are going to move on to making ornaments using recycled stuff and kind of a steampunk theme to it. So here we have our ingredients for our, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Steampunk, Metallica, recycle thing. Kind of looks like a hardware store, really. I mean, if we go in close, I got some tacks over here, some screws and bolts and little snaps, little cones for jewelry making, watch parts. Here's a whole thing of gears, some more cones, beads, screws and nails, jewelry components I haven't used. So we're just looking for stuff that we can maybe smash and bang with a hammer to flatten it and use into a piece. And this is a piece that's probably going to be a little bit more stable and secure, so if you wanted to make it as a pendant or something like that, or a centerpiece for your jewelry, you certainly can. All right, so let's get started on our Metallica piece. Okay, so here we are going to be working with our metal components and making a metallic necklace or ornament or whatever you want to use it for. The nice thing about the metallic or the metal or using any kind of recycled thing, really, plastic, whatever it is you're using, is that it's more durable. Now, we started off with the natural, and that's very delicate, so you probably won't be able to wear that around your neck. Be more of an ornament that you can hang on the wall or something. And then we moved on to the crystals and the glass, and that's pretty much more durable, obviously, than the natural. So now we're moving to the metallic, and this is kind of a fun, it's fun with this too. I mean, there's so many different things that you can use, as you saw in my ingredients. But what I picked out here, these are some little watch parts. So they're the part of the watch that you would crank, wind it with. Not that they make, or people have watches like that much anymore, but these are components. These are just watch parts, and you can get these. If you're an Etsy shopper, just put in pocket watch components and you'll come up with a zillion things, and they're really inexpensive. These are just some old metal findings that I've had that I haven't really used in a really long time, so I thought this would be a perfect time to use them. And the other thing I have is these little metal cone things that I'm going to use. I don't know yet. We're still playing. I wanted to show you the first one that I did. And this one, what I did is I used metal cones. You can get these online. I get them at Crazy Crow Trading Company. And they're just these metal. You can get them in copper and brass. And they use them, in Indian dress. They dingle and make noise. Well, what I did is I just took a hammer to them and I totally flattened them. They're really easy to flatten. And then I was able to put those into the clay. I have some little nail heads, little nails, thin little nails. These are just little metal beads that I bought years ago, and I haven't used them for much, but they worked really cool around the center of the piece. And then I used a washer in the center, and I put a bunch of those little watch parts around it. So this would make a really neat pendant. The only thing, these little jagged edges might get stuck on your sweater or whatever you're wearing. But it also would be a cool ornament for the tree. It'd be a cool ornament just to hang on the wall. So again, I'm just trying to show you guys what you can do. This here is another one that I did on my quick video just to show you how easy it is to just put something together. And this is a pendant. I'm going to make this into a pendant so it'll have a necklace stand. But again, this was a charm I had, and I took the hammer to it. And, it's just quick, easy, done. And we use these really fun components, and they're going to be stuck in there. Once this clay dries, they're going to be stuck. So for the component I'm going to use today, it's kind of the same process. We're always going to start, or I'm always going to start, by covering up my bale, and I'm just going to stick these right into the clay. And then you know how I do it. I go opposite, and I'm trying to get it so that you'll see some of the clay behind that component there, because I have an idea for that. And then I'm going to go again opposite in those four corners, 4 directions. And then I have some colored ones. They kind of came this way. Isn't that cool? They're pretty, but I thought they'd work really well for this project. So that's what I'm doing with them. All right. So you want to kind of get them evenly situated around, just like so. That's kind of pretty, isn't it? And I'm thinking this might make a really cool, actually, pendant for a necklace. You know, if I were to, I should have cut the bail off because then I could do beadwork around it. But oh well, at this point, I'm just gonna go with it. Now I'm kind of just smoothing with my thumb and covering any area there. Now what I thought I would do next with this is I was thinking I would take these little watch winder things and stick them into this bail, and then I am going to hopefully just stick them kind of right in like that. So, and they're all different. All of these little, I think they're end caps, and these little winder things are all a little bit different. None of them are the same. So, and that's okay. I kind of like the idea that they're not all the same. Now that watch thingy doesn't want to fit into that bail, so I'm going to skip over that one. Maybe I can find a smaller one that will fit. This one looks kind of, yeah, well, it's going to stick up a little bit for it. No, there we go. Okay. That one looks like it needs to move in a little bit more. So we're just working our way around here. This is so, I'm not much of a steampunk Metallica kind of gal, but it certainly is fun. Now, see, that one doesn't want to fit in there to play with. I certainly love using metallic components and colors, obviously, in my work. This one's, maybe that one's smaller. I'll use it in this one. That still doesn't want to go all the way down, so I might have to get another end cap for that. They're both not really wanting to go down. I guess it depends. You just got to fiddle sometimes with things. Let's see if this one will work. So that's going to go in there. So this is kind of what we're looking at now. It's kind of funky and weird. Now, I was thinking for the center, there's so many different things you can do. I mean, I have this metal gear. That's kind of cool, actually. I was thinking I would use this and put some more gears on it. You know, there's all kinds of things. You can go as extreme and do something with this point out of it, but that might be kind of dangerous. These are old components that I could use, but kind of boring. I have this weird looking thing I could use. That's almost so weird I want to use it. But, you know, there's bolts. You can use something like that. So there's all kinds of things. I am kind of liking this, though, in a weird kind of way. I don't know why I like it. I think that this is supposed to be the front of it, and even that's kind of cool. But I'm kind of drawn to this, too. I think I'm going to go with what I originally wanted to use, which is this. And I'm just going to stick it smack in the middle, just like that. And then I kind of wanted to have more gears stuff in the center of it. So this is where you can take like a little piece of clay, just like so. Because there's a little bit of a knob on the top of this thing, so it's not going to let me totally press that down flat. So I'm just going to go like so. And the clay is actually going to adhere that on the top. And then I have this little tiny one, oops, that I was going to put right on the top. And I'm thinking I'm going to need just a little bit more clay. So you can do little tiny things of clay and adhere and really give things a three-dimensional look. So now I'm going to use my little thing and squish that down, just like so. And I need to pick this up and look at it to make sure it's centered. And there is a little bit of clay sticking on the outside of that, but it's not enough that it concerns me. Okay, so now I have this extra area around here. I'm wondering what I should fill those up with, and I don't know. I have these funky things. Aren't these kind of, these were like on the back of buttons to hold them in place, and I'm wondering if I could stick those in just to give it some weird, yeah, I kind of think so. I'm gonna stick those in. I did try to flatten those with a hammer and it didn't work very well. So I think that's, you know, sometimes some of these pieces, if you have a little bit, a hammer and you have like a vise or an anvil, something that's really metal and hard, you can go out there and flatten pieces. And it's really kind of fun. It's a fun process. You never know what they're going to look like. So there, I'm glad I got those to work. I wasn't sure, but I like that. That's kind of cool. All right. So now you can see I have this little area here that's kind of bubbling out, and I'm just going to go in and kind of flatten that out a little bit and kind of decide what I should put there. I could put some more gears, but I'm not sure I want to. I have some tacks. Oh, you know what might be really cool? My husband was nice enough to allow me to go into his shop. Of course, he had to show me the drawers that I was allowed to look in because he thinks that I'm a little messy, and I don't know, maybe I am. But I found these, so maybe if I can put these around. Those, I like the brass. Okay, let's see if I have enough. Tacks work really great. I love working with tacks. I've even used tacks in my bead embroidery, just cutting the shank part off, and then you have this really cool metal part that you can bead embroider around. And this is kind of cool because it's kind of gonna help hold, not that it's gonna fall out, but it's kind of going around that centerpiece there. Oh, I hope I have enough. Otherwise I have to go back out to the garage and get some more. But I think I'll be okay. These are cool. And then the question arises, how many am I gonna need? I think I'm just gonna use 2. Sometimes if you crowd things in too much, then they have a way of pushing things out. And we don't want to do that. All right, so there. Now I can look at this, and I kind of liking that. That's really kind of cool. This piece is a little heavy. I mean, you could wear it. You could wear it as a pendant, but it's also just cool. So you could hang it on the tree, you could hang it in the window, on the wall, around your neck. And again, I'm going around and kind of just pushing everything in, making sure that it's happy and cool. And we have our steampunk ornament. Ta-da!